That's the crazy part about it. You ready?
Let everybody get set back there.
Everybody get set. Okay. Well, week 2 for us, and we've got a lot of cleaning up to do on all 3 phases of our football team. I thought we talked about it this weekend, and yesterday we had a little bit of a walkthrough to try to just look at some things. UNLV, when you watch them on tape, they got into a double overtime game. It was quite exciting at the end there for those guys. They've got some talented players, both on offense and defense. They're a big offensive front. Got an excellent runner in Williams. He's setting a bunch of records for those guys as far as historically at UNLV. Quarterback made a quarterback change. Brumfield, and he's a kid we actually recruited, so know a lot about him. Big, strong arm guy, can throw the football. They've got a big offensive line. Does a pretty good job of getting to people. And defensively, they have some speed over there. 3-4 defense. They do a nice job. Secondary is very active. Linebackers are very active. Got a really good kicker as well. I mean, he made some field goals for him. I mean, once they're inside the plus 40, he's good. He's got a good, strong leg. So they're a team that has a lot of speed, athleticism. They're tough. They're a tough football team too. So we'll have our work cut out for us, but it's about us now. It's really, when we look at our football team, we've got to improve. We put ourselves in some bad situations due to our own missed opportunities and just being too emotional the first half. Second half, I think we calmed down some. Now, the good thing is we got a lot of young guys in the game, which was kind of good for us just to see where they're at. And that's kind of touchy because you only get 4 games with some of these guys. So we got to be careful of what guys we're allowing to play and how we're doing all this. And that's something we discussed a little bit. But for the most part, I think our guys were excited about playing again at home and against a team that is getting better. You watch them on tape. Questions?
State your name and affiliation, Michelle.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic. Coach, I kind of have a 2-part question. One, I'm sure you watched all the Pac-12 games this weekend and kind of interested in your take on some of the surprising outcomes that happened this weekend. And the second part of that is, do you think that type of thing will hopefully not allow your players not to look past somebody?
Well, we talked about that. I talked about it actually Wednesday night, that it's hard to win a football game. And I think sometimes we look on paper, paper has never won a football game. It's actually what you do out on the football field. And I think when you look at what has happened in college football, and I said it when I first took this job, there are a lot of upsets in college football, and no one could ever figure it out. And you knew going into opening day for a lot of teams, something was going to happen, right? And you saw a lot of great games. You saw a lot of teams that were the underdog come back and win. You talk about our conference. We scored the most points. We scored 41. Our differential margin was 27. That was the best in our conference. What does that mean? Nothing. It means we're 1-0. That's all. I don't worry about other teams in our conference. I got enough worries of my own, and I just think that's what you realize as a coach. It's hard to win a football game. I do know this. When we run the ball fairly decent, we got a chance. If you look at us over the last 3 years, when we run it over 200 plus yards, we're 9-1. So, I mean, I'm not saying we're a running team, but we're 9-1. So that's what I do know. So that's a pretty good stat to have in your back pocket. Yes, sir. Oh, good. Okay.
Hi, Herm. Hodrobino, Devil's Digest. I know that you said even prior to Thursday that you expected not to look smoothly operational wise, but at the same time, with so many veteran players, to see the emotion maybe take over the passion, to see the penalties, to really not have a flow, especially on offense, was that just a little surprising? Again, not so much week 1, but just because the veteran.
I think along with the fan bases, no one knew how to act. Right? I mean, the first time we seen fans. Our players were like, wow, these are fans. And the fans were like, wow, we're watching a football game. And, you know, it's just funny how that works when you have it. We hadn't seen fans almost 2 years. I mean, so I just think all of that, I had already computed that in my thinking, and that's why I kept harping on it. I said, these guys have no idea what this is gonna feel like. And I said, they haven't played in front of fans, and the fans haven't seen us play football. And so it was kind of one of those deals that kind of came together and you just saw it unfold, right? And I think eventually when we got in at halftime, I kept talking to them, and sure enough, we went out there and the first play on offense, we get another foul. I go, here we go. Well, it was only 2 in the second half. I think we calmed down some. So hopefully we got that out of our system. But there's this fine line between being passionate and emotional. And you can't get emotional because you make errors.
Chris Cartman, Son of a Source. Herm, throw the stats aside. When you rewatched your defense, what did you think about how they handled the run and the pass?
I thought pretty good job in pass coverage. You know, not a lot of leaks in the defense. I mean, now it goes hand in hand. Good coverage produces a good pass rush. Hit us on a couple runs that you got to make sure we tighten that up a little bit. Hit us on the 21-yard touchdown. Just kind of lost our way in our gaps, and something hit on the backside. And good play by the runner. But I thought for the most part, taking the ball away was important for us always. Gain other possessions for our offense. That was a good thing. We tackled pretty good, to be quite honest. When you think about football anymore, we don't have live tackling around it. We don't have scrimmages. You know, when I first got here, and then people thought, what is he talking about? We don't tackle each other. Now we do tackling drills, and you know we do all those things, but live tackling, we generally don't do that. Hardly at all with our starters. And so I thought we tackle fairly well. We'll find out how good we can tackle this week because of his running back. Because tell you what now, he's a good football player. So for the most part, special teams was a little sloppy at times. We talked about that. Just the process of, I mean, this is where it's at when you think about emotion, right? And you think about fans and guys being excited. I've been around a lot of football. And when you score a touchdown, generally, the offensive line stays in there and you go for the point after. We had guys running off the field. And I was like, looking, going, did we substitute for some reason? I mean, that is as simple as it gets. And then we had a defensive guy getting ready to run in there. I said, it's not blocked. We're actually trying to kick the PAT. But that's how emotional it was for these guys. I mean, it was really, I looked at it and went, this is a new one for me, right? And so those are the things, and you know, we got to get that cleaned up. Then we got rushed because the clock was ticking down. So I wasn't going to call timeout. So I kind of called Captain America. Captain, this is what you got to do. When you see that, you get up. We'll tell the center, don't hike the ball, and we'll be fine. We'll take the delay. Now, that shouldn't happen anymore. But all those little things, you just kind of watch and you go, man, right? So that's where it's at.
Doug Haller, The Athletic. Herm, Curtis Hodges made a couple of plays on Thursday, and then going back to the Arizona game last year, he had a big play. Just how would you kind of assess his development at that tight end position?
Well, I think he's excited about the tight end being a big part of our offense. And that's what we told him. And I think for him, a guy that's been here for a long time, you know, has had his kind of moments. This was the best game he's played since I've been here. Not only just catching the ball, but blocking. If you watched him block, and our offensive line, I'm gonna tell you what now, they did a really nice job of blocking. They really, really did. The runners are the runners, but it all starts up front. And Curtis was a big part of it, of the blocking part of it. Our receivers, wow, they were really good too, blocking, you know. So I'm happy for him because he's been through a lot. He's been injured. He's been kind of in and out. He had all kind of things going on, and his life is kind of getting focused now. He wants an opportunity to play at the next level. And I think if he can continue to play like that, you know, he'll get an opportunity.
And real quick, if I could take you back, during practice, I assume during your playing days, you went up against Harold Carmichael quite a few times.
Every bit of 6'7", yeah.
Could you just maybe describe what it's like going up against someone who's 6'8"?
Well, it's difficult being a corner, and in practice, I can remember my rookie year, and Harold just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, as you folks know, and it was great to see him and visit with him and his wife. It was really fun. He met my girls. He knew my daughters, but I was like taken by surprise a little bit. I walk out there because the rookies this is when it was different football. It was 6 weeks. It was 6 preseason games, and it was 2 weeks before the veterans got to camp. And I had knew about Harold Carmichael, just watching him on television. And then the first day I line up in one-on-one, he walks out there and I go, he's really tall. I mean, he's really big, right? And I said, how do you defend this guy? You know, and in practice, I mean, I would go against Harold. And I tell you what, you think you have him covered, but you don't when they throw the ball up because of his length, right? And that's the problem. You got to be a pretty good athlete to go play the ball. And he was strong and physical. It helped me. I mean, taught me how to be a pro, actually. Between him and Roman Gabriel, who was the veteran quarterback behind Jaworski, they would give me information every day of how to be a professional football player, right? And I couldn't thank him enough for that. And that's why I was so excited about him finally getting in the Hall of Fame, you know, because he meant a lot to me as a rookie and has been a good friend and hard to cover now. I mean, in the red zone, it wasn't even fair. I used to watch him against other people. Jaws would just throw it up. Just catch the ball. It's hard, you know. The length gets you.
Herm, Eddie Chaplitsky had a pretty good first game. What did you think about it, especially replacing Turk?
He did, and that's a, you know, those are big shoes to fill, obviously. And the one he kicked down there inside the one was really nice to see, and he was excited about it. So I think as he continues to grow and kick, he'll get better. He's a talented kid. I mean, he can punt and kick, but you don't want him to do both. You know, it's too hard right now. He has to be our punter. So I continue to hope he doesn't have to punt a lot. That means we're moving the ball. But when he does, I think that game helps him. He's finally went to the stadium, got his first kick, you know, and that's fun to watch.
Hey, Herm, Jack Loader, House of Sparky. A number of times on Thursday night, Justin Miller was able to stand in the pocket unfazed and make some throws downfield. Are you at all concerned with the depth and effectiveness of the pass rush going forward against bigger, better offensive lines?
Well, you know, you have to generate a pass rush. There's no doubt about that. And when you're only rushing 4 and they're blocking 5, you got some one-on-one, somebody has to win. And coverage always helps you. When you can cover the guys a little longer, you know, it's kind of a marriage, coverage and rushing, and either way you want to, you know, put them together. But yeah, we got to do a better job of getting to the quarterback. Oh, now we got him off the spot. Now sometimes you look at games, you know, you look at sacks. I don't get involved in that. I get involved. Does the guy stand on the spot? Well, first interception, if you watched him go, it was caused because of a good rush. The guy threw off his back foot. So, you know, you can get into that stat game, and I always tell our linemen, man, let's don't get into the stat game, because then you have a bunch of guys playing lone wolf McQuades, and they want to just, you know, I'm gonna get my stats, and then bad things happen because you have to have integrity in the rush lanes, especially this week, quarterback we're playing, because he'll leave the pocket and run, right? And so all those things are important, but for the most part, you always want to improve on your pass rush. There's no doubt about that.
Herm, health-wise, how did you come out of this game, especially with the status of DeMonte Traynor?
Yeah, I mean, we got some mix for the first game, but I think most of our guys are ready to roll. Or we'll see where that's at. You know, it's always after the first game, you're always concerned with guys. First real tackle football game against an opponent, so it's a little bit different. But for the most part, we came out of it pretty good.
Back here, Herm, yeah. Jake Anderson, ArizonaSports.com. Going back to the little things, Herm, when you win a game by 4 scores, is it harder to get these guys to focus on correcting those little things?
If you look at the film, no, it's not real hard. And I think we've always talked about a standard of how we want to play. And we didn't do a good enough job of that. Our opening day, you know, and opening days, it's kind of interesting when you watch just football, period. You know, you have all these thoughts in your mind of what it's going to look like. And as a coach, I've done enough of it and played in enough of them. It's like, you really don't know what it's going to look like. You just sit there and you watch it. And then you go, okay, how can I help fix it? Because that's what you do. You try to fix it. You know, you have this plan. It's like, well, we got this plan on offense and defense and, you know, special teams. And then the emotions come out and you go, uh-oh, I got to adjust and I got to talk to this guy and I got to go do this. And so now I think we got a feel of what it feels like to play in a stadium with people, right? So little stuff like that. It's just like, and I told you folks that before the game started. I mean, you know, you make decisions, but you got no control when it all comes out, right? And so the communication from the coaches, you know, how you do things on the sideline. I mean, first thing I looked at, I kept looking back on the bench, and there was so many people on the sideline. I said, man, this is really interesting, right? And so that was one of the things I had to talk about to the team. I said, look, we got to be better on the sideline, you know, of doing things. And there's a lot of guys walking around. I said, man, it looked like Manhattan. Downtown Manhattan. You know what I mean? I said, some of you guys don't need to be walking around. So now I got to place them where they're supposed to be, right? Because it's the first game. It's just, I tell you what, this stuff's hard, man. It really is. And you think you're ready to do it until you play a game and there's fans, and that makes a difference. That's why these guys love to go into stadiums where there's fans, because it makes a difference. And when you haven't felt that almost in 2 years, it's a wonderful feeling. And I'm glad we're playing at home because we got a great fan base.
Coach Craig Fouie, ABC 15, piggybacking off that, we've said for years that the biggest improvement happens between game 1 and game 2. So what do you expect this week coming out of that one last week, Thursday?
Well, I'm hoping, obviously, we're not as sloppy as far as the fouls go. And we don't get ourselves in some bad situations on first down. We were in 9 situations, whether it was in first down and long situations, 1st and 15 or more 3 times, 2nd and 14 or more 3 times. I want to say 3rd and 16 or more on 3rd down. Them bad downs. You know, that's bad downs. You can't be in those kind of downs. That's just to keep the ball going, to keep the drive going. Those are hard to get out of. And so we got to get away from that. There's going to be some negative plays every once in a while, but football to me on offense is real important. Is this, just make first downs. And if you make first downs, you get more plays and the field starts shrinking in the right way, right? And we got to do a better job of that for sure. Defensively, we got a task ahead of us with this run game they have, because they do a nice job of running the ball. So we got to get that stopped.
Just quick follow-up. You just talked about that running game a couple of times now, but you practice against a pretty good running game too.
Yes.
Does that help?
Well, it does. And there's no doubt about that. But you still have to have your gap integrity. You have to trust that if I'm supposed to be in the A to B or the C gap, I got to trust that I got to stay in this gap. You know, sometimes, you know, defensively, you want to make a play and you see stuff flash and you say, well, I'm going that way. And then they come back and all of a sudden there's an open gap. And so we got to do a better job of that, of keeping our gap responsibility and then tackling. We got to tackle his back, man. This guy's, he's a good football player, this running back now, Williams.
Hey, Coach. Zach Keenan, Devil's Digest. I'm talking to Ricky Pearsall's coaches at CDS. How has he changed in the past 3 years?
Just his maturity, of just now his freshman year to right now. I mean, it's just, and that's the thing I enjoy the most, watching guys come in as freshmen, just watch how they mature, and all of a sudden they have a voice. I mean, his first year, he didn't talk. You know, I mean, it was like he would see me and kind of like, where you going, man? Come here. You know, and now every time you see, hey, coach, you know, he would talk and just, so it's fun that the relationships that I get to have with some of these players, watching them from when they were freshmen to right now, how it's developed, and they feel real comfortable walking in my office or just talking to me on the practice field. You see the maturity and the growth and the confidence. I mean, he's a confident player, which is good because he's a really good football player. Yes, sir.
Sean Lynch from State Press. Coach, Darian Butler was somebody that was really impressive. Obviously, those 2 interceptions, he was dropping back in coverage, but also split the gaps, made some nice rushes. What have you seen on the field and off the field, maturity-wise and performance-wise, that's really impressed you about Darian?
Well, when you think about Darren, we recruited him and he was a blue shirt. Because he was one of those guys who didn't have enough scholarships. Said, we're going to blue shirts, you have to wait. And then all of a sudden, we had a scholarship come available. Say, hey, you come in. So he came in late into camp, started as a freshman, and you've watched this guy as a freshman, team captain, one of the voices on defense. And when he speaks, everybody listens. Offensive players, defensive players. He doesn't say a lot, but when he says something, guys go, oh, okay, it's Darian talking. And then the way he played, I mean, to me, he's much more knowledgeable of the game because of the way he moves. I mean, he made some tackles in that game in the open field. I showed the team. I said, hey, man, look how this guy's playing right now. There was a couple guys that really played good, and he was one of them. There ain't no doubt about that. And I think he likes the style of this defense where he can just run and go play. And AP is allowing him to do that. So, yeah, he had a really good game. Thank you, folks. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.